When the server asked what I'd like to drink at my birthday dinner, my girlfriend said, "Water only. He needs to lose weight before I say yes." The server stood there holding her notepad, pen frozen midair, her professional smile flickering with confusion. We were at Margot, the upscale French restaurant Vanessa had picked for my 32nd birthday, and she'd just announced my beverage order like a parent rationing treats to a misbehaving child. The server, whose name tag read Claire, looked at me with those eyes people get when they witness something uncomfortable in public, like they're not sure if they should intervene or pretend they didn't hear it. I opened my mouth to say I'd actually like a beer, maybe the IPA I'd seen on the menu, but Vanessa's hand shot across the table and gripped my wrist. Her nails, painted deep burgundy, pressed into my skin hard enough that I felt them through my shirt sleeve. "Water is fine," I heard myself say. "Thank you." Claire nodded slowly and turned to Vanessa. "And for you, ma'am?" Vanessa smiled, that perfect smile she used in public, the one that made people think we were the ideal couple. "I'll have the French 75, please, and we'll start with the oysters, but just one serving. He doesn't need the extra calories." She said it casually, like she was discussing the weather, but loud enough that the couple at the next table glanced over. The man, probably in his 50s with graying temples, frowned slightly before returning to his menu. His wife, a woman in a navy dress, kept looking at us with concern. I'd been dating Vanessa for 18 months. We'd met at a marketing conference in Seattle where she was presenting on social media strategy, and I was attending sessions on digital advertising trends. She was magnetic on stage, confident and brilliant, the kind of person who commanded a room without effort. During the networking mixer that evening, she'd walked straight up to me, introduced herself, and within 10 minutes, we were deep in conversation about brand positioning and content optimization. She was beautiful in that intimidating way, tall and lean with sharp cheekbones and dark hair she wore in a sleek ponytail. I was average height, admittedly about 30 pounds heavier than I'd been in college, working a decent job as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized tech company. When she gave me her number, I couldn't believe my luck. The first 3 months were incredible. Vanessa was attentive and affectionate, always texting to check in, always wanting to spend time together. She'd show up at my apartment with takeout from my favorite Thai place, and we'd watch movies until midnight. She laughed at my jokes and listened when I talked about work frustrations. My friends liked her, though my best friend Leo mentioned once that she seemed a little intense about planning our social calendar. I brushed it off as her being organized and driven, qualities I admired. The comments about my weight started subtly around month 4. We were getting ready for a wedding when Vanessa watched me button my dress shirt and said, "That's getting a little tight, isn't it?" I looked down at myself in the mirror. The shirt was snug, sure, but it still fit. I'd bought it 2 years ago and maybe put on a few pounds since then. "Yeah, probably should hit the gym more," I said, trying to laugh it off. She stepped behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and rested her chin on my shoulder. In the mirror, we looked like a normal couple getting ready for an event. "I just want you to be healthy," she said softly. "You know I care about you." After that, the suggestions became more frequent. She'd cook dinner at my place and serve me noticeably smaller portions than her own, saying she'd already calculated the calories and this was the right amount for my goals. I hadn't mentioned having goals, but she'd decided I needed to lose 25 pounds. When I reached for seconds, she'd gently push my hand away. "You'll regret it tomorrow," she'd say, like she was doing me a favor. She bought me a fitness tracker for my birthday that previous year and checked my daily step count every evening. If I hadn't hit 10,000 steps, she'd suggest we go for a walk right then, even if it was 10 at night and I was exhausted from work. The gym became another battleground. Vanessa insisted we get a couple's membership at an expensive boutique fitness studio near her apartment. The monthly fee was $300, which stretched my budget uncomfortably, but she said it was an investment in our future together. She'd wake me up at 5:30 on Saturday mornings for workout classes that left me dizzy and nauseous. The instructors, all impossibly fit people in their 20s, would shout encouragement while I struggled through burpees and mountain climbers. Vanessa would glance at me from her mat, her expression a mixture of pity and disappointment when I had to stop and catch my breath. She started posting photos of us on social media with captions about relationship fitness journeys and motivating your partner to be their best self. In the photos, she'd angle the camera to minimize how I looked, cropping me partially out of frame or positioning herself in front of me. Her followers, thousands of them from her work as an influencer on the side, would comment with heart emojis and messages like, "You're so inspiring," and "He's lucky to have you pushing him." I asked her once to stop posting about my weight loss, and she looked genuinely hurt. "I'm proud of the progress we're making," she said. "Why would you want to hide that?" But there was no progress. Despite eating the tiny portions she prepared, despite the early morning workouts and the daily step goals, I'd lost maybe 5 pounds in 6 months. My body just didn't respond the way Vanessa thought it should. She started suggesting I see a doctor, convinced there must be something medically wrong with me. "Normal people lose weight when they exercise and watch their calories," she said one evening after weighing me on the scale she'd bought for my bathroom. "You must have a thyroid issue or something." I went to my doctor, Dr. Raymond Kim, a family physician I'd been seeing for 8 years. He ran blood tests and checked my thyroid function, and everything came back normal. "You're healthy," Dr. Kim said, reviewing my results. "Blood pressure is good, Cholesterol is fine, blood sugar is perfect. You could stand to lose 10 or 15 pounds if you wanted to, but you're not at any health risk. Your weight is in the normal to slightly overweight range for your height, and given your activity level, that's perfectly reasonable. I felt relief wash over me. I wasn't broken or sick or failing at basic human function. I was just a regular guy with a regular body. When I told Vanessa what the doctor said, she frowned. Did you tell him how much you're really exercising? Because if you are working out as much as we do, you should definitely be losing more weight. I explained that Dr. Kim knew my full routine and said I was healthy. She shook her head slowly. I think you need a second opinion. That doesn't sound right. Over the next week, she sent me links to articles about metabolism and weight loss, forwarded me information about nutritionists and specialized weight loss clinics, suggested I try intermittent fasting or keto or some other restrictive diet she'd read about online. The public comments got worse. We'd be at dinner with friends, and Vanessa would monitor everything I ordered. If I asked for pasta, she'd suggest the grilled fish instead, loudly enough for everyone to hear. Remember your goals, babe, she'd say with a sweet smile. Our friends would shift uncomfortably in their seats. Leo pulled me aside one night after a group dinner and asked if everything was okay. Vanessa seems really controlling about what you eat, man. That's not normal. I defended her, said she was just trying to help me be healthier, that she cared about me and wanted me to feel good about myself. But even as I said it, I felt a twist in my stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. The engagement pressure started around our 1-year anniversary. Vanessa began making pointed comments about friends who were getting engaged, about how she'd always imagined being married by 30, about the kind of ring she liked. I'd been thinking about proposing too, actually, before things got so tense around food and exercise. I loved her, or I thought I did, and I could imagine a future together. But something held me back. Maybe it was the way she looked at me sometimes, like I was a project she was working on rather than a partner she accepted. Maybe it was the constant feeling of being monitored and judged and found wanting. One evening about 3 months before my 32nd birthday, Vanessa brought up marriage directly. We were at her apartment, and she'd made a salad for dinner, no protein for me because I'd already had a protein shake after the gym. She set down her fork and looked at me seriously. I need to know if we're moving towards something permanent, she said, because I'm not getting any younger, and I have certain expectations for my life. I told her I wanted that too, but I wanted to make sure we were in a good place first. She asked what that meant, and I tried to explain that I felt like there was a lot of pressure lately, especially around my weight, and it was making me stressed. Vanessa's face hardened. So you're saying you won't marry me because I care about your health? That wasn't what I'd said, but she was already building momentum. I spend hours researching nutrition for you. I wake up early to work out with you. I cook healthy meals. I support you in every way possible, and you're telling me that's pressure? Her voice was rising. Maybe the pressure you feel is just guilt, because you know you're not trying hard enough. Maybe if you actually committed to getting healthy, you wouldn't feel so defensive about it. We didn't talk for 3 days after that fight. I stayed at my apartment, ignored her texts, tried to figure out what I actually wanted. Leo came over with pizza and beer, and we sat on my couch like we had in college. Dude, you know I like Vanessa, Leo said. But this whole thing with your weight is messed up. You look fine. You're healthy. She's treating you like you need to be fixed. I ate 3 slices of pizza and felt guilty the entire time, like Vanessa was going to somehow know and be disappointed in me. She showed up at my apartment that 3rd evening with flowers and apologies. She cried and said she'd been too hard on me, that she just loved me so much and wanted us to have a long, healthy life together. She was scared of losing me to heart disease or diabetes, scared that if I didn't take care of myself now, I'd have serious problems later. My dad died of a heart attack at 53, she said, tears streaming down her face. He was overweight and didn't exercise, and it killed him. I can't watch that happen to you. This was the first time she'd mentioned her father's death in any detail. I held her while she cried and promised I'd try harder, be better, take this seriously. That's when things escalated. Vanessa moved in with me 2 weeks later, saying it would be easier to keep us both on track if we were living together. She took over my kitchen completely, throwing out anything she deemed unhealthy. Pasta, bread, snacks, even the protein bars I liked because they had too much sugar. She installed a new scale in the bathroom and made me weigh myself every morning while she recorded the number in a spreadsheet on her phone. She tracked everything I ate in a calorie counting app and showed me the daily totals each evening, pointing out where I'd gone over my limit. She controlled the grocery shopping, the meal planning, the portion sizes. If I said I was still hungry after dinner, she'd tell me to drink more water or have some celery. Your stomach has stretched from years of overeating, she explained. It takes time to retrain it to recognize appropriate portion sizes. I started feeling hungry all the time, lightheaded at work, unable to concentrate during afternoon meetings. My coworker Jasmine noticed and asked if I was feeling okay. I blamed it on stress and busy projects. The social isolation happened gradually. Vanessa started turning down invitations to gatherings where there would be food she couldn't control. Birthday parties, barbecues, happy hours, anything involving restaurants or drinking. When we did go out, she'd eat beforehand and then order just a salad, making a point of telling our friends she'd already eaten but wanted to socialize. This meant I had to do the same, or look like the glutton who couldn't control himself for one meal. Leo's wife threw a dinner party, and Vanessa insisted we leave after an hour because the food options aren't aligned with our goals. I watched my friends eat and laugh while I drank water and felt my stomach growl. My 32nd birthday was on a Friday. Vanessa said she was taking me somewhere special for dinner, her treat, to celebrate. I was surprised because she'd been so strict about restaurant meals, but she seemed genuinely excited to take me out. "You've been working so hard," she said that morning. "You deserve something nice." She told me to wear the new shirt she'd bought me the previous week, a size down from what I normally wore because it'll motivate you to fit into it properly. The shirt was tight enough that I felt self-conscious the entire drive to the restaurant. Margot was beautiful, all soft lighting and white tablecloths and elegant place settings. The host led us to a table near the center of the dining room, visible to most of the other patrons. Vanessa ordered a bottle of sparkling water for the table before the server arrived for our drink orders. That's when Claire appeared with her notepad and warm smile, asking what I'd like to drink, and Vanessa made her announcement about water and weight loss and saying yes. The thing that made it worse was the phrase, "before I say yes." Not before she said yes to a date or a dinner invitation. Before she said yes to marrying me. She'd just told a complete stranger and everyone within earshot that I wasn't good enough to marry in my current state, that her acceptance of me as a life partner was conditional on me losing weight, and she'd done it at a restaurant she chose, on my birthday, in the most public way possible. Claire brought my water with a look of sympathy that made me want to disappear. Vanessa ordered her cocktail and appetizers and acted like nothing unusual had happened. She talked about work gossip and upcoming weekend plans, while I sat there feeling like every person in the restaurant was looking at me, judging me, pitying me. The couple at the next table, the ones who'd glanced over earlier, were definitely watching us now. The woman caught my eye at one point and gave me a small, sad smile. When the entrees arrived, Vanessa had ordered for both of us without asking what I wanted. She got herself a duck confit with crispy skin and roasted vegetables, while I received a plain grilled chicken breast with steamed broccoli. No sauce, no seasoning visible, nothing that made it remotely appealing. "I told them to prepare it simply," Vanessa said. "Fewer calories that way." She cut into her duck with obvious pleasure, making appreciative sounds while I chewed the dry, flavorless chicken. My birthday dinner consisted of protein and vegetables while I watched my girlfriend eat delicious food and sip her second cocktail. Halfway through the meal, I excused myself to the restroom. I needed a minute away from the table, from Vanessa's satisfied expression, from the weight of public humiliation. In the bathroom, I splashed water on my face and looked at myself in the mirror. The shirt really was too tight. I could see the outline of my stomach, the way the fabric pulled across my chest. Was I really so unacceptable? So fundamentally flawed that I needed to be controlled and restricted and publicly shamed into changing? When I returned to the table, Vanessa was on her phone scrolling through something. She looked up as I sat down. "I was just looking at wedding venues," she said brightly. "There's this amazing barn venue about an hour outside the city. It would be perfect for a fall wedding." She showed me photos of a rustic space with string lights and wooden beams. "Of course, we'd want you to be at your goal weight for wedding photos. Maybe we should aim for next fall to give you enough time." I put down my fork. The dry chicken suddenly felt like cement in my stomach. "Vanessa, can we talk about what you said to the server earlier?" She looked confused, like she genuinely didn't know what I was referring to. "About the water?" "Honey, I was just trying to help. You know alcohol has empty calories." I shook my head. "Not about the alcohol. About me needing to lose weight before you say yes. To marrying me." She blinked. "Well, that's true, isn't it? I mean, I want you to be healthy and at a good weight before we get engaged. That's not unreasonable." She said it matter-of-factly, like she was explaining basic math. "I need to know you're committed to taking care of yourself. Marriage is a long-term investment, and I need to see that you can maintain a healthy lifestyle." I looked around the restaurant at the other couples eating their meals, drinking wine, celebrating occasions. None of them appeared to be negotiating weight requirements for marriage proposals. "What if I don't lose the weight?" I asked quietly. "What if I stay exactly how I am right now?" Vanessa set down her wine glass. "Then I guess we'd have to reassess whether we're compatible long-term. I can't be with someone who doesn't prioritize their health. It's one of my non-negotiables." She said it calmly, clinically, like she was discussing job requirements. "I've been very clear about this from the beginning. I don't think I'm being unfair." We finished the meal in near silence. Vanessa tried to make conversation about other topics, but I couldn't focus on anything she was saying. When the check came, she made a show of paying with her credit card, mentioning loudly that she was treating the birthday boy. The server, a different person than Claire, thanked us and wished me happy birthday. Vanessa left a generous tip, and we walked out to her car. The drive home was tense. I stared out the window while Vanessa talked about stopping at the grocery store tomorrow to prep meals for the week. When we got back to my apartment, she wanted to have sex, calling it my birthday present. I told her I was tired and went to bed. She stayed up watching TV in the living room, and I could hear her irritated sighs even through the closed bedroom door. The next morning, I woke up early and couldn't fall back asleep. Vanessa was curled up on her side of the bed, her dark hair spread across the pillow. In sleep, she looked peaceful, beautiful, like the woman I'd met at that conference. But I couldn't shake the feeling from the previous night, the public humiliation, the casual cruelty of making my worth conditional on a number on a scale. I got up and made coffee, breaking Vanessa's rule about no caffeine before working out. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop, starting to search for things I'd been avoiding researching. Emotional abuse in relationships, controlling partner warning signs, body shaming by significant other. The articles that came up were uncomfortably familiar. Monitoring and controlling food intake, public humiliation about appearance, making love conditional on physical changes, social isolation, constant criticism disguised as concern. One article on a psychology website listed 15 signs of an emotionally abusive relationship. I counted 11 that applied to my situation with Vanessa. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the text, seeing my life reflected back at me in clinical terminology. The article mentioned that abusers often target their partner's self-esteem, making them feel like they're never good enough, like they need to constantly prove their worth. It said that healthy partners accept you as you are, while abusive partners make you feel like you need to earn their love through changing yourself. Vanessa came into the kitchen around 8, already dressed in her workout clothes. "Why aren't you ready? We have the 9 o'clock class." I closed my laptop. "I'm not going today." She frowned. "What do you mean? It's Saturday. We always do the 9 o'clock class." I took a breath. "I need a break, Vanessa. From the workouts, from the food tracking, from all of it." Her expression shifted from confusion to anger so quickly it startled me. "A break? On what planet do you get to take a break from your health? That's not how bodies work. That's not how commitment works." She started pacing the kitchen. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why you haven't made progress. You're not serious about this. You want results, but you don't want to put in the work." I tried to explain that I'd been putting in work for months, that I was exhausted and hungry all the time, that I needed to find a more sustainable approach. She cut me off. "Sustainable? You know what's not sustainable? Heart disease, diabetes, dying young because you couldn't bother to take care of yourself." The argument escalated. Vanessa accused me of giving up, of betraying her trust, of wasting her time and effort. I tried to stay calm and explain that I felt controlled and criticized constantly. She laughed harshly. "Controlled? I cook for you, I work out with you, I research nutrition, I do everything I possibly can to support you, and you call that controlling?" She grabbed her gym bag. "Fine, don't come to class, but don't expect me to keep investing in someone who won't invest in himself." She left, and I sat in my kitchen feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Part of me wanted to chase after her, apologize, put on my workout clothes, and go to that 9 o'clock class. But a larger part of me, the part that had been slowly waking up while reading those articles, knew that I couldn't keep doing this. I called Leo and asked if he wanted to get breakfast. Real breakfast, I specified. Pancakes and bacon and all the things Vanessa would have a fit about. Leo met me at a diner 30 minutes later. I ordered a full stack with eggs and sausage and hash browns, and when the food arrived, I ate every bite without guilt. Leo watched me with concern. "You want to talk about what's going on?" So I told him everything. The birthday dinner, the comment about needing to lose weight before she'd say yes, the 1.5 years of escalating control over my food and exercise and body. I told him about the articles I'd read that morning, about recognizing the patterns of emotional abuse. Leo listened without interrupting until I finished. Then he said quietly, "I'm really glad you're seeing this clearly now. We've all been worried about you, man. The way she talks to you, the way she monitors everything you do, it's not healthy. It's not love." He paused. "Have you thought about what you're going to do?" I hadn't. Not really. The thought of breaking up with Vanessa felt enormous and terrifying. She'd moved into my apartment. Our lives were entangled. Plus, part of me still believed what she'd been telling me for months. That I needed her guidance, that I was lucky she cared enough to help me, that without her, I'd just let myself go completely. "I think I need to talk to someone professional," I said, "like a therapist. I don't trust my own judgment right now." Leo nodded enthusiastically. "That's a great idea. My sister sees this therapist, Dr. Angela Foster, who specializes in relationship issues. Want me to get you her contact info?" I said yes, and Leo texted his sister right there at the table. Within 10 minutes, I had Dr. Foster's office number and website saved on my phone. I called Dr. Foster's office the following Monday and got an appointment for Wednesday afternoon. The receptionist asked what I wanted to focus on in therapy, and I said, relationship issues and self-esteem. She scheduled me for a 90-minute intake session. I took a half day off work and didn't tell Vanessa where I was going, claiming I had a dentist appointment. Dr. Foster's office was in a professional building downtown, calm and neutral with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Dr. Foster herself was probably in her 50s, with kind eyes behind rimless glasses and a gentle demeanor that immediately put me at ease. She asked me to tell her what brought me to therapy, and I started with the birthday dinner. Then I backtracked to explain the context, the 18 months of food control and body monitoring and public comments. I told her about my doctor saying I was healthy, but Vanessa insisting something must be wrong with me. I showed her some of the text messages Vanessa had sent, comments about my daily calorie intake and exercise stats. Dr. Foster took notes and asked clarifying questions. How do you feel when Vanessa comments on your food choices or your body? I thought about it. Ashamed, I guess. Like I'm failing at something basic. Like I'm not good enough. She nodded. And before you met Vanessa, did you feel that way about yourself? I shook my head. Not really. I mean, I knew I wasn't in perfect shape, but I felt okay about myself. I had confidence, I dated, I had good friendships. I felt like a functional adult. Doctor, Foster leaned forward slightly. What I'm hearing is that Vanessa has systematically undermined your self-esteem by making your worth contingent on your weight. She's used public shaming, constant monitoring, and withholding approval to control your behavior. This is a form of psychological abuse. Hearing it said out loud by a professional made it real in a way that reading articles hadn't. She says she's doing it because she cares about my health, I said weakly. Abuse often disguises itself as concern, Dr. Foster replied. But genuine concern respects boundaries and autonomy. It doesn't involve public humiliation or making someone feel worthless. It doesn't make love conditional on meeting arbitrary physical standards. She asked if Vanessa controlled other aspects of my life beyond food and exercise. I started listing things I hadn't consciously connected. How she'd gradually taken over my social calendar, declining invitations without asking me first. How she'd pushed most of my friends to the periphery, claiming they were bad influences because they didn't share her health values. How she'd moved into my apartment and rearranged everything to suit her preferences without discussing it. By the end of the session, Dr. Foster had outlined what she called a safety plan. She explained that leaving an emotionally abusive relationship could be complicated, especially when you live together. She recommended I document everything, take screenshots of texts, keep a journal of incidents, record our conversations if legal in my state. She suggested I start building my support network back up, reconnecting with friends Vanessa had pushed away. And she recommended I consult with a lawyer about my rights regarding the apartment and any shared assets. Most importantly, Dr. Foster said as our session ended, I want you to understand that you deserve to be loved and accepted exactly as you are. Your worth is not determined by a number on a scale or whether you meet someone else's arbitrary standards. You are enough. I left her office feeling like I'd been given permission to believe something I'd forgotten, that I was a whole, valuable person who deserved better than what I was getting. That evening, Vanessa asked about my dentist appointment. I said it went fine, just a routine cleaning. She was in a better mood than she'd been since our fight on Saturday, chatting about her day at work and making dinner, grilled fish and asparagus for both of us, portions she'd pre-measured. I ate the meal and went along with the evening routine, but something had shifted inside me. I was seeing everything clearly now, the patterns and control mechanisms I'd been blind to before. Over the next 2 weeks, I started implementing Dr. Foster's suggestions. I began keeping a journal, writing down each incident of Vanessa monitoring my food, commenting on my body, or making decisions without my input. I reconnected with friends I'd drifted away from, accepting invitations to lunch and happy hours even when Vanessa disapproved. I consulted with a lawyer, Ronald Simmons, who specialized in cohabitation agreements and tenant rights. He explained that since it was my apartment and Vanessa wasn't on the lease, I had the legal right to ask her to leave with proper notice. He recommended I document everything and be prepared for potential escalation when I ended the relationship. I also started seeing Dr. Foster weekly. In our sessions, we worked on rebuilding my sense of self-worth and establishing boundaries. She taught me to recognize manipulative behaviors and how to respond to them. She helped me understand that Vanessa's treatment of me wasn't about my weight or health. It was about control and power. Abusers target whatever they think will make their victim most vulnerable, and for me, that happened to be my body image. Vanessa noticed the changes. I was less compliant about the meal plans, sometimes making my own food instead of eating what she prepared. I stopped apologizing constantly for eating wrong foods or missing workout sessions. I went out with friends without asking her permission first. She responded with a mixture of confusion and anger, escalating her attempts to regain control. She'd weigh me daily and show me the numbers accusingly. She'd scroll through my phone looking for evidence of what I'd eaten when I wasn't with her. She'd sulk and give me the silent treatment when I didn't follow her directives. 3 weeks after my first therapy session, Vanessa orchestrated another public incident. We were at her company's holiday party, a fancy event at a downtown hotel. I'd been dreading it because Vanessa had been obsessing about how I'd look in photos with her colleagues and professional connections. She'd bought me another too-tight suit and made me promise I'd only drink water and eat sparingly from the appetizer tables. The party was in full swing, people mingling with drinks and small plates of hors d'oeuvres. Vanessa was in her element, networking and laughing with colleagues, while I stood beside her feeling like an accessory. At one point, I excused myself to get a drink from the bar. I ordered a beer, something I hadn't had in months. As the bartender handed it to me, Vanessa appeared at my elbow. She looked at the beer, then at me, her eyes cold. "What do you think you're doing?" she asked quietly. I took a sip. "Having a drink at a party." She grabbed the beer from my hand and set it on the bar. "We discussed this. Water only. You're already bloated enough in that suit without adding alcohol." She said it at normal volume, not whispering, and several people nearby turned to look. The bartender looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure whether to intervene. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the therapy work I'd been doing. Maybe it was finally seeing her behavior clearly. Maybe it was just accumulated exhaustion from 18 months of being controlled and criticized. No, I said firmly. We didn't discuss it. You told me what to do, like always, and I'm done following orders. I picked up the beer and took another sip. Vanessa's face flushed red. Don't do this here. You're embarrassing me in front of my colleagues. I'm embarrassing you? My voice was louder than I intended. You just grabbed a drink out of my hand and told me I'm too bloated to have beer. You humiliated me at my birthday dinner. You control everything I eat. You treat me like I'm your project instead of your partner. And I'm the one embarrassing you? People were definitely watching now. Vanessa's boss, a woman in her 40s named Catherine, had paused her conversation and was looking at us with concern. Vanessa tried to take my arm and lead me away from the bar, but I didn't move. We need to talk about this privately, she hissed. I shook my head. No. I'm done having private conversations where you convince me that your behavior is normal and I'm the one with the problem. I'm done pretending this relationship is healthy when it's actually making me miserable. Catherine approached us. Is everything okay here? Vanessa plastered on her professional smile. Everything's fine. My boyfriend is just having a moment. Too much stress at work, I think. I looked at Catherine directly. Everything is not fine. Vanessa has been emotionally abusing me for over a year, controlling what I eat and how I exercise and making me feel worthless if I don't meet her standards, and I'm finally done with it. The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa's face went from red to white. Catherine looked between us, clearly unsure how to handle this situation. Other party guests had stopped their conversations to watch. Vanessa laughed, high and brittle. He's being ridiculous. I've been helping him get healthy. He's making it sound like something it's not. You made me weigh myself every morning and recorded the numbers in a spreadsheet, I said. My voice was shaking but steady. You threw out all the food in my apartment and replaced it with things you approved of. You monitor my daily calorie intake and step count. You've told me multiple times I'm not good enough to marry until I lose weight. You publicly humiliated me at my birthday dinner by telling the server I couldn't order a drink because I needed to lose weight before you'd say yes to marriage. That's not help. That's abuse. Catherine put a hand on Vanessa's shoulder. Vanessa, I think you should take the rest of the evening off. We can talk about this on Monday. Vanessa jerked away from her touch. Talk about what? He's lying, making me sound like a monster when I've done nothing but support him. But her voice lacked conviction. She could see the way people were looking at her now, the judgment in their eyes. I set down my beer, suddenly exhausted. I'm leaving. Don't come back to my apartment tonight, Vanessa. I'll have your things packed and you can pick them up tomorrow. I walked out of that hotel ballroom with every eye on me, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I just publicly ended my relationship and exposed Vanessa's behavior in front of her entire professional network. Part of me felt victorious. Part of me felt terrified. I called Leo from my car and told him what happened. He let out a low whistle. Holy shit, man. Are you okay? I wasn't sure. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Can I crash at your place tonight? I don't want to be alone. Leo said, of course, immediately, and gave me his address even though I'd been there dozens of times. I spent that night on Leo's couch, unable to sleep, my phone buzzing constantly with texts from Vanessa. They cycled through the predictable patterns Dr. Foster had warned me about. Apologetic messages about how she'd overreacted and just loved me so much. Angry messages about how I'd humiliated her and ruined her reputation. Manipulative messages about how I was throwing away our relationship over nothing. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, I called Ronald Simmons, the lawyer, and explained the situation. He advised me to change my locks immediately and document Vanessa's belongings before packing them. He said to communicate only through text or email so there was a written record, and to have a third party present when Vanessa came to collect her things. I called a locksmith and had my locks changed by noon. Then I asked Leo and another friend, David, to come over and help me pack Vanessa's belongings. We sorted through everything, photographing items as we boxed them so there couldn't be disputes later about what was whose. Vanessa had accumulated a lot of stuff in my apartment over the months she'd lived there. Clothes, toiletries, kitchen equipment, books, decorations. We filled 12 boxes and stacked them neatly in my living room. I texted Vanessa that her things were ready and she could pick them up Sunday between noon and 2, with the condition that she bring someone with her and not come alone. She showed up Sunday at 1 o'clock with her sister Diane, who I'd met a few times at family events. Leo and David were there with me, sitting in my kitchen as backup. Diane looked uncomfortable, like she'd been dragged into something she didn't want to be part of. Vanessa wouldn't look at me directly. She and Diane loaded the boxes into Diane's SUV in silence, making 3 trips up and down the stairs. On the last trip, Vanessa paused in the doorway. You're making a huge mistake, she said. You'll never find anyone else who cares about you the way I do. Who else is going to put up with you the way you are? I looked at her, this woman I'd loved, and saw clearly what Dr. Foster had helped me understand. This wasn't love. Love doesn't humiliate. Love doesn't control. Love doesn't make you feel worthless. You're right, I said quietly. I won't find anyone else who treats me the way you did. That's exactly the point. She left without another word, and I closed and locked the door behind her. Leo, David, and I sat in my apartment drinking beer and ordering pizza, and for the first time in 18 months, I ate without guilt. The aftermath was messy. Vanessa tried to contact me repeatedly over the next few weeks, alternating between apologies and accusations. She sent long emails explaining that she'd only been trying to help, that I'd misunderstood her intentions, that couples counseling could fix this. I blocked her number and email on Ronald Simmons's advice. She showed up at my workplace twice, trying to talk to me in the parking lot. My boss, after I explained the situation, had security escort her off the property and sent her a formal trespass warning. The story of what happened at Vanessa's holiday party spread through her professional network. Several of her colleagues reached out to me privately, some to apologize for not seeing what was happening, others to share their own observations of her controlling behavior. Catherine, her boss, apparently had a serious conversation with Vanessa about professional conduct and boundaries. I heard through mutual contacts that Vanessa took a leave of absence from her job a few weeks later. I continued therapy with Dr. Foster weekly, working through the damage the relationship had done to my self-esteem and sense of self. She helped me understand that recovery from emotional abuse takes time, that I'd likely struggle with guilt and second-guessing for a while. She was right. I'd have moments where I'd wonder if I'd overreacted, if Vanessa had really been that bad, if I should have tried harder to make it work. Dr. Foster would gently remind me of the incidents I'd documented, the patterns of control and manipulation, the fundamental lack of respect for my autonomy. I also started working with a nutritionist, Monica Lawrence, who Dr. Foster recommended. Monica's approach was completely different from Vanessa's. She asked about my relationship with food, my hunger cues, my energy levels. She didn't weigh me or give me meal plans or make me track calories. Instead, she taught me about intuitive eating and listening to my body. She helped me understand that health looks different for everyone, that weight is not the only or even the most important health indicator, that I could be healthy and happy at my current size. Your ex-girlfriend's approach was harmful and unscientific, Monica said during one of our sessions. Extreme restriction, constant monitoring, shame-based motivation, none of that leads to sustainable health outcomes. It just creates disordered eating patterns and psychological damage. She showed me research about how diets fail 95% of the time long-term, how weight cycling is actually worse for health than being stable at a higher weight, how stress and shame are more damaging than extra pounds. 3 months after leaving Vanessa, I ran into her at a coffee shop. I'd been meeting a friend there, and she walked in as I was leaving. We made eye contact, and I saw the calculation in her expression, like she was deciding whether to approach me. I nodded politely and kept walking. She followed me outside. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Just 5 minutes." I looked at her and felt nothing except mild pity. "There's nothing left to talk about, Vanessa." She stepped closer. "I've been in therapy, working on myself. I realize now that I was too controlling, that I let my issues with my dad's death affect how I treated you. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry for hurting you." It sounded rehearsed, like something her therapist had helped her script. "I accept your apology," I said, "but that doesn't change anything. I'm not interested in reconnecting." Her expression hardened. "So that's it? You're just going to throw away everything we had?" I shook my head. "I didn't throw anything away. You damaged it beyond repair when you spent 18 months tearing me down and making me feel worthless. I'm rebuilding myself now, and that doesn't include you." I walked to my car without looking back. 6 months post-breakup, I was in the best mental health I'd been in years. I'd reconnected with all the friends Vanessa had pushed away. I'd started a new hobby, joining a recreational basketball league that focused on fun rather than fitness. I'd gotten a promotion at work after my boss noticed my increased confidence and improved performance. I'd even started dating again, casually, with clear boundaries and self-respect I hadn't had before. I ran into Dr. Kim, my regular physician, at a community event, and we chatted briefly. He mentioned he'd heard I'd ended my relationship with Vanessa and hoped I was doing well. "I was worried about you last time I saw you," he admitted. "The questions you were asking about weight loss, the stress you seemed to be under. I suspected there might be something unhealthy happening in your relationship, but I wasn't sure how to bring it up without overstepping." I thanked him for caring and told him I was doing much better now. A year after the birthday dinner at Margot, Leo threw me a small party with our close friends. We went to a steakhouse, coincidentally, and I ordered whatever I wanted without a second thought. A whiskey to start, a ribeye medium rare, loaded potato, dessert. My friends toasted to my freedom and recovery, and someone joked that I'd won the breakup, since Vanessa had apparently moved to a different city after the fallout from the holiday party incident became too uncomfortable. I'd gained back some of the weight I'd lost during my relationship with Vanessa, and I didn't care. My body had settled at a weight that felt natural and sustainable. I had energy. I slept well. I enjoyed food without guilt. I exercised when I felt like it, for enjoyment rather than punishment. I was, as Dr. Kim had told me all along, healthy. The most important change was internal. I'd rebuilt my self-worth on a foundation that had nothing to do with my appearance or anyone else's approval. I knew my value as a person wasn't contingent on fitting into a smaller size or meeting someone's arbitrary standards. I'd learned to recognize red flags in relationships and trust my own judgment about what I deserved. I'd surrounded myself with people who accepted and appreciated me exactly as I was. Sometimes I think about that moment in Margot, when the server asked what I wanted to drink, and Vanessa announced I could only have water. How small I felt, how powerless, how ashamed. That version of me seems like a different person now, someone I feel protective of but no longer identify with. I wish I could go back and tell him that he deserved better, that her treatment of him was wrong, that his worth wasn't determined by a number on a scale. But I can't go back. I can only move forward with the wisdom I've gained from that experience. I know now that love shouldn't hurt. It shouldn't make you smaller or ashamed or constantly apologizing for existing as you are. Real love accepts and celebrates you, supports your growth without demanding you change, respects your autonomy and choices. I know what I'll never accept again in a relationship, and I know what I deserve. Last week, I was at a restaurant with someone I'd been dating for a few months, Olivia. The server asked what we wanted to drink. Olivia ordered wine, and then looked at me expectantly, letting me order for myself. I got a beer. When the food arrived, we split an appetizer and ordered our own entrees without commentary or judgment. We talked and laughed and enjoyed the meal. As we left, Olivia took my hand naturally, comfortably, and I realized this was what a healthy relationship felt like. Easy, respectful, equal. I still see Dr. Foster monthly for maintenance therapy. In our recent session, she asked how I felt about the whole experience with Vanessa now, with a year of distance and healing. I thought about it carefully. I'm grateful, I said finally. Not grateful for the abuse, obviously, but grateful that it woke me up. Grateful that I found the strength to leave. Grateful for everything I learned about myself and what I deserve. Grateful that I'm building a life now that's authentic and healthy and mine. Dr. Foster smiled. That's a really healthy perspective. You've done remarkable work in your recovery. She paused. What would you say to someone who's in a similar situation, just starting to recognize the abuse but not sure if they should leave? I didn't have to think long about my answer. I'd tell them that they deserve better, that real love doesn't control or humiliate or make them feel worthless, that leaving is hard and scary, but staying in an abusive relationship is harder and scarier in the long run, that they're stronger than they think and there are people who will support them if they reach out, and most importantly, that their worth isn't determined by anyone else's opinion of them. The journey from that birthday dinner to where I am now wasn't linear or easy. There were setbacks and hard days and moments of doubt, but each step away from that toxic relationship and toward my own recovery was worth it. I'm not the same person who sat in Margot feeling ashamed while my girlfriend ordered water for me and made my worth conditional on losing weight. I'm someone who knows his value, who sets boundaries, who won't tolerate being treated as less than he deserves, and that ultimately is the best revenge against someone who tried to make me feel small. I refused to stay small. I grew into the person I was always meant to be, free from someone else's limiting expectations and controlling behavior. I'm healthy, happy, and whole on my own terms. No one gets to take that away from me ever again. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.